Welcome to Fast Politics, Andy Levy.
Hi, how are you, Molly?
I am pretty stressed out. I think we have to talk about the John Bolton situation because that is so. A couple things happened this week that were really bad signs, that were like really scary signs of authoritarianism. And the first one was Texas Governor Greg Abbott. You'll remember him as the guy who overturned Roe v. Wade, SB 8. With SB 8, he wrote this law that ended abortion in the state of Texas, undermining the federal law. And then the Supreme Court said, go for it, man. You do whatever you want. And now he is giving Donald Trump 5 congressional seats with a mid-decade gerrymander not tied to a census, but instead tied to a phone call from Donald J. Trump. And that is now happening. So that was the first thing that got me really messed up. The second thing that got me really messed up was the ICE, which has been allocated billions and billions of dollars, more than any other federal agency. Well, they are now wrapping cars in wraps that say protect the homeland. So that's number 2. And then the third thing that has really got me worried is this early morning raid on everyone's least favorite person on the left and the right, John Bolton. Discuss.
Yeah, but other than that, Mrs. Jong-Fast,
It was a good play.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. For people who are watching this, by the way, I'm wearing a new hat, and it's just plain black. And so I'm either an ICE agent or I'm John Cusack in a '90s movie. I can't decide which one.
Correct.
But I like it. Okay, look, what's going on in Texas is possibly, out of all the things you just mentioned, the most dangerous, I think.
Yeah.
And they are basically saying, we know that we can't win elections fairly. And well, Donald Trump is saying that anyway. And so we are going to do everything in our power to disenfranchise a large portion of this country. And this is not new for them. This has been a long-term, first of all, this has been a long-term goal of conservatism,
Right.
even pre-MAGA, but it has definitely accelerated under MAGA and under a Supreme Court that now feels free to, roll back the voting rights acts of the 1960s. And so this is a new tool in the toolbox, a new weapon in the arsenal. I hate to use the phrase because it's associated with Trump, for rigging the vote. And so, you do what you can to make it as hard as possible for certain people to vote, those people usually being poorer, usually having more melanin in their skin than you or I do. So that's step one. And then step 2 is, you redraw the districts, you jigger everything around so that you minimize the importance, you minimize the worth of the votes of the people you couldn't quite kick off the rolls yet. And like you said, this is not based on the census. It's not based on anything other than, dear leader wants it. And Greg Abbott being one of the many MAGA people that we see these days who like to proclaim themselves alpha males and in reality couldn't be bigger, by their terminology, could not be bigger beta cucks to Donald Trump. Donald Trump says, I need more votes. And Greg Abbott says, how many? It's the equivalent of Donald Trump says, jump, you say, how high?
Right. And it's what he did, you'll remember, during the first time he lost, when he said to the governor of Georgia, Brian Kemp, find me 20,000 votes.
Right. Exactly. It's all of a piece. And look, the other stuff you mentioned is obviously bad. Everything ICE is doing is bad. I mean, we are at the point, if and when a Democrat ever takes office again, abolish ICE can't just be some random phrase anymore. To me, that's almost like that's job one. That's, how people always say, on my first day in office, I will whatever. They always make first day promises. That should be a first day action from the next Democratic president. Abolish the fuck out of it. Just get rid of it. I'm not saying you don't need some kind of border organization. We do not need ICE. You talk about a thing that is rotten to its core. I don't want to hear any few bad apples type thing. The whole structure, the whole breakdown of that organization is rotten and it needs to get gone. So there's that. And then the Bolton thing is, look, again, I don't want to minimize it because it's awful, regardless of what you think of John Bolton, but it's the same shit. We're seeing the
Right.
same shit over and over again. It's the
And it's
weaponizing of the federal government
right.
against Donald Trump's perceived enemies.
It's a DOJ that operates at the pleasure of Donald J. Trump.
Yeah.
Its job is not to enforce the law. Its job is to protect Donald J. Trump. And that's it.
And that's it,
So,
like you said.
like, we've talked about the moments that are where you break glass. And this feels like a break glass moment. Yesterday, I interviewed Gavin Newsom, not the favorite of many progressives. In fact, I asked him about that. But Gavin Newsom has given a lot of people hope. They have felt that Gavin is fighting for them. Now, I don't have a horse in this race, but I just can't think of anyone else who is fighting against Paxton and Abbott the way that he is.
I'll try to be politic here. This is a guy who I do not like doing something good. And it's the kind of thing that needs to be done.
I think that's exactly. I mean, I
Yeah.
don't think you have to like him. I'm just thinking about, like, those are 5 seats that if
Right.
Democrats don't get, they're going to be
Yeah.
fucked. And Gavin Newsom is now taking all this abuse on Fox. Is he a political genius? No. But is he fighting back against them? Yes. And is there anyone else I'm seeing who's doing that? I mean, Pritzker, there are people who are fighting back, but they may not be necessarily breaking through. A good example is there were a lot of really good Democratic senators. I mean, Elizabeth Warren was on Chris Hayes last night, really important, talking about, she is, you can't do better than Elizabeth Warren. But Elizabeth Warren is not dominating the news cycle right now.
No. Yeah.
And Gavin is. And again, obviously, Gavin's the governor of the 5th largest economy in the world. So, like, he has a lot more power in a certain way. But I also think, like, in the world we are in right now, going on CNN or going on MSNBC or even going on ABC or NBC, a network, people don't see it, right? They don't have televisions, they have TikTok, so if you're there, nobody cares. So it doesn't, you know what I mean? Like, you either break through or you don't. And that Gavin is in fact breaking through.
He is for sure breaking through. And again, like you said, I don't have to particularly like Gavin Newsom. I don't have to think he should be the Democratic nominee in 2028.
Right. I
I'll
don't
be
think
honest.
anyone's saying that.
I hope he's not. But that doesn't
He's not even
mean
going to be governor in 2028.
Yeah,
He'll be out
and-
of power.
But my point is to echo you, that doesn't matter. If he's doing something that is, I think, good, I'll say, yes, he's doing something I think is good. And I think you're absolutely right. And it sucks that we're now in a gerrymandering arms race, which is clearly only going to get worse. And,
Oh.
we're eventually going to end up with no purple states at all, regardless of what the population breakdown of that state is, just in terms of districting. And you and I have talked about this, and a lot of people have talked about it, is we want to see something other than rolling over.
Right.
And we want to see something other than, okay, but what they're doing is bad, so we're not going to do it in return, which is great. You can sit up there, with your head in the clouds because your horse is so high. But in the
But it doesn't matter.
meantime,
You're fucked.
it doesn't matter.
There are
You're
ICE agents rolling into your
Exactly.
town, picking
Right.
up your. I mean, that's the thing. It's
Yeah.
like there is no more time
Right.
for anything. And that's the thing I'm so struck by is, I got a lot. I'm going to talk about myself now, which I think is the worst when people talk about themselves. It's very annoying, especially in any number of ways. But I'm just going to talk about myself for a minute, which is like I've gotten a lot of static for interviewing Gavin and going on Bill Maher and not being in a world filled with people who I don't necessarily agree with. And here's what I'm going to say: there have to be people like us who go in spaces like that. That's it. If there aren't people like us, then there are people who are, you and I both know that I am not more famous than those people. They are more famous than me. And if I go in that space, I can represent my pretty
Right.
lefty views. And if I
Yeah.
don't, then there's someone else in there who is a never Trump Republican or
Right.
who is, and that's why we do this, because
Just say
it,
David Brooks.
it may, it may not feel like our people, but there's a reason for that.
Do you want my take on this?
Yeah. Oh, please.
So my take has always been, and this goes back to when Bernie Sanders was taking shit for going on Fox News in, I want to say 2016?
Right.
My feeling is, I agree with you, with the caveat of, as long as you're not going into those spaces to be a punching bag, then
Right.
100% go do it. Bernie Sanders was not going on Fox News to be a punching bag. Bernie
Right.
Sanders was going on Fox News to reach people he would not otherwise
And
reach.
it worked. And by the
And it
way, it
worked.
worked.
And it worked.
And that's
Absolutely.
and with Rogan, I mean, Rogan's such a good example because, you'll hear these people, we need a Democratic Joe Rogan. No, Joe Rogan is a Democrat. You guys just said he's not a Democrat the way we're Democrats, but he used to back Bernie Sanders. So obviously, my man is capable of liking Democrats. Is Joe Rogan the perfect messenger? Abso-fucking-lutely not. Like, there's a million different things that I don't agree with him about. Endless number of things. But the reality is, like, you're either in front of his 80 million viewers
Yeah.
or you're not.
Yeah. And it just comes down to being prepared and being, unwilling to put up with the bullshit. And, Bernie Sanders, that Pete Buttigieg did that when he would go on Fox News a lot. And again, not my favorite guy in the world, whatever, it doesn't matter. I have no problem with him going on Fox and spitting facts and throwing shit back in the faces of the anchors and hosts there. That's doing good to me. If you're using those platforms to spread your word and to counter their word, then why not? Like, I have never understood the, "Oh, you shouldn't go on" thing. Again, you shouldn't go on and roll over. You shouldn't
Right.
go on and play their games. But if you go on with the mindset that you're not gonna do that, if you go on a Joe Rogan, if you go on a Bill Maher, if you go on Fox News and your attitude is, "I am gonna spit facts and make fun of these people and laugh at them and show how they're wrong, and maybe I will reach some people by doing that," yeah, I'm all for it.
Yeah, I think that there are no other choices at this
Yeah,
moment.
yeah.
So let's talk about sort of what we think about this moment. Democrats, what would be the dream response to this? Okay, we have the Justice Department acting like an arm of the Trump administration. We have ICE taking over the District of Columbia. I mean, it strikes me that protests and people getting loud is probably the only thing that keeps our constitutional democracy going at this moment.
I think it's pretty much the only thing that we can do, we the people. I think there are things that maybe the people that we have put in office can do. Look, and it's along the lines of things that Gavin Newsom is doing. I could come up with a million things and they could easily be shot down as, well, that could never happen and that's ridiculous. And also, there's the ramifications of them might not be great. But look, we all know that when it comes to the distribution of federal money, the blue states put in, the red states take out. So I mean, if this is how they're going to be, and if the red states are going to send National Guard troops to
Right.
blue cities or whatever to help take them over,
It might
you
be
know,
time to stop
it might
paying
be time.
federal taxes
It might be
for
time.
states to hold their federal taxes because, like, for example, the District of Columbia right now has $1 billion of tax money that is sitting, being held
Yeah,
by the federal government. So that
yeah,
$1 billion is money that DC residents have paid in taxes.
yeah,
That Donald J. Trump, you may remember him, is holding in a federal government, because it was not allocated in the BBB, because the BBB was busy just giving money to ICE and taking
Right.
money away from Medicaid and Medicare.
Yeah, and I know people, well, Congress isn't in session right now, so they're not in DC. Get on a fucking plane, fly back to DC. Congressmen and women, senators, get out there, join these protests, get out on the streets. And maybe instead of just posting, sending off a tweet saying, this must stop, or we need to look into this. Go fucking do something, and don't get turned away by security like y'all did when Doge was taking over. Get out there and mix it up, and let people see that you care, and let people see that that what's going on is basically the opening moves of a fascist coup, to
Yeah.
sound all conspiratorial and out of control.
I think it's not.
But it's
I
not.
don't think there's other. I mean, this does not look like the American democracy that either of us have lived through.
No, no. But we've got
So
Democrats. I feel like we've got a bunch of Democrats spending more time going after a New York City Democratic mayoral candidate
I know
than
they
they
really
are
hate Montana.
going after what is happening in Washington, DC right now. And that is pathetic.
Yeah.
And again, all those people,
And
I want
that's the
them gone
speaker,
from leadership. I
and
know.
that's the Speaker of the House. I mean, he's not the Speaker
The
because
minority leader. Yeah.
right, but, I
It's,
mean, he
I
can't
know.
endorse Mondani. But I think, like, it's fair to say the center needs to be more focused on the right, but the left also needs to be more focused on the right. Like, everyone needs to be focused on the takedown that's happening right now of our
Yeah.
federal government,
Yeah, for sure.
and that is where it is. Andy Levy, will you come back?
I will huddle with my advisors,
You'll huddle with
and
your advisors?
I'll huddle with my advisors, and they will reach out to your people.